This is David from beautiful Durango, Colorado.
David from Colorado.
This is a great segue to one thing that's on my mind, and then maybe if I have time, I can go into an environmental story that's happening out west here. I read a lot about fascism and capitalism, and I just got done reading a great essay by J.T. Murphy that was written, by the Socialist League in 1935. And I love the first sentence of this, and I'll read it to you. It goes, "Fascism, all in caps, is not an alternative to capitalism. It is capitalism in its most desperate, violent form." Mm-hmm. And I love that opening statement. It's really powerful. But so since we're talking about Fox, and I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about fascism and capitalism, and I've been thinking about Trump, it's, to me, a lot of times they argue that, to have capitalism survive in fascism, you have to serve the state, i.e. the authoritarian, the dictator. You can make all your money you want as long as you're still subservient to, the dictator, and you can keep on rolling and exploiting people. So I find it really interesting with this story with, the big lie in Trump and Fox, is that, just like you were saying earlier, is that it's Fox Corp, News Corp, has become subservient almost to the master, the state, Trump, because he still was president. Mm-hmm. So I just find that kind of a tidbit, kind of a precursor that is kind of scary to me, how, capitalism and fascism go hand in hand. And if we don't watch it, we're segueing into, I think some very dangerous waters.
Yeah.
So do I have time to comment on something about environmental?
Please, go ahead.
So, okay. I don't know if you guys have touched on this, but it's called the Uinta Railroad. Sometimes I miss some shows or whatnot. But it's an oil train. So let me explain. Up in northeast Utah, called the Uinta Basin, is a big, wide open, cold desert area. It's one of the largest roadless areas in the United States. And in the Uinta Basin, they have oil, but it's very full of paraffin. So they do drill right there, but right now what they're doing is they're taking the oil out of the Uinta Basin, trucking it over to Salt Lake and refining it there. So now this group called the Seven Counties Group, with some equity firms based out of New York, and after a while it gets confusing who's all involved in this, they want to build an 88-mile short line train to hit the main line so they can take mile-long oil trains through the Rockies here in Colorado, right along the Colorado and right through the headwaters of the Colorado. So right now, in the Uinta Basin, they pump about 80,000 to 90,000 barrels per day. If they get this railroad built, which unfortunately just got passed by the Biden administration's Surface Transportation Board, they'll be able to transfer per day 350,000 barrels of paraffin oil, crude oil, down to the Gulf Coast, to the refineries down there in Louisiana. So imagine 10 trains a day going through the Rocky Mountains right along the Colorado River. And I've been a professional river guide for many years, and I've paddled a lot of those sections. One canyon is called Gore Canyon that is exceptionally steep. And if one of those trains blows up or derails, we're talking, a massive environmental issue. And I feel like this is not getting any talk. It's called the Uinta Railway, and nobody's talking about this terrible carbon-emitting bomb, as they're calling it, because the methane that they're going to be producing out in the Uinta Basin is just going to blow up. I mean, it's staggering. It's staggering how much methane they're going to be producing, because, see, a lot of people don't know is that these gas and oil wells are powered a lot of times by electrification, but sometimes, like in Utah, because they have such terrible environmental laws, they're powered by its own methane, and they just leak gas nonstop into the atmosphere. So Colorado, our Senator Hickenlooper Bennett, and a lot of people in Colorado are getting active, saying, no, we don't want this train going through the Colorado Rockies down to down to the Gulf. So I just thought, I think the national audience needs to kind of start hearing about, like, holy cow, not just pipelines. We got this nasty oil train, wanting to come right through Colorado and go all the way to the Gulf States. I mean, it's insane. And the thing about paraffin.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I just wanted to see what the status of was of any kind of opposition. It seems like Bennett at the Senator Bennett, at the very least, has sent a letter, but not sure where Hickenlooper is on this.
Hickenlooper is against it, which is interesting because, he does come, he is
oil background,
petrogeologist.
Yep.
Hickenlooper is, he's an interesting character, because, he does come from gas and oil, but he is against this. One thing I can say about Hickenlooper, I've met him a couple times. He's a very nice man, but he also is very crafty in the sense that he knows how to sniff the winds of Colorado. And Colorado, even though this story is starting to get traction, you can see a lot of articles in the digital online publication, the Colorado Sun, and Coloradans are not stoked about this. So there's a lot of grassroots groups kind of getting involved on this, but I'm just wondering why this is not getting national attention. And I'm also pretty ticked off at the Biden administration who's talking about climate change supposedly, and you're like about ready to supposedly maybe have this carbon bomb go off. And then we're talking about trains in East Palestine. And we're like, oh, so you're about ready to let mile-long paraffin-laden oil trains run through Colorado and Utah and destroy the Uinta Basin, which is absolutely beautiful. And can I give one more tidbit about?
Yeah, really quick. But this is really helpful for people to know.
I'm passionate. Paraffin-laden oil sits in the earth at 225 degrees. Okay, so when they pump it up, if it sits in air temperature, it will congeal. So what they have to do is these oil tanker trucks that go to Salt Lake, they have to heat them up to 115 degrees. So every single one of those oil tanker trains will be heated. So imagine that. Oh, so we got oil and hot tanks, and if they tip over, kaboom, we might have what we had up in Quebec.
Jesus.
Don't want it.
Yeah.
So there's another stupid silliness about this, and I just want more people to kind of get on board of learning about the Uinta train.
Right. Well, we will clip this so people do know about it. And just another example of how there are a variety of different implications for, one, lack of national railroads, and two, since we're further away from that, lack of any real regulatory oversight on these kinds of things. So, David, thank you for the info. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for my time. Have a great show. I love it.